Hey guys, it's Jamie, and this is another episode of Recovery Inspired Hope. Make sure you subscribe to Jamie Tall on YouTube so that you don't miss any more episodes. Right now, we have season number 3 of Strong Women in Recovery, and I'm so excited to present to you Michelle Titian. So Michelle is a singer-songwriter. Yes. So Michelle, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from just outside of Toronto in Canada, and I'm a singer-songwriter, and I am in active recovery for 6 years now. So I struggled for years with addiction, drug and alcohol, and depression. So that kind of led me to a place where I literally did not want to be here anymore. And kind of led me into the rooms of a 12-step program where I was finally able to surrender to the truth that I have a severe problem. And I found that once I was able to surrender, I was finally able to stay stopped, because it's like once I start, I can't stop. So once I put a drink inside me or a drug, I don't have the power to stop. So not on my own power. Eventually I will stop and get maybe even a week of sobriety, but I can't stay stopped. And it's that, I was stuck in this like cycle where I couldn't break out of, because the addiction had me so bad. You know what I mean? So I found that, we don't really start waking up to the fact that we have a problem until we start losing things, whether that is our driver's license, relationships, or job, or freedom. Like some people get put in jail. And like, what's it going to take for me to wake up to the fact something needs to stop here? Like, there needs to be a serious change. So at the time, my husband was, he had enough and was basically like, I can't do this anymore. So that drove me into the rooms of a 12-step program, but I wasn't done, right? I wasn't done drinking. And this thing in my head, like the thought of never being able to have a drink again, scared me so much, because that had only, like, it was only my solution. Like, that was my coping mechanism, right? Anytime I got upset about anything, or all the trauma that I'd gone through, I drink. And I mean, it got so bad to the point where I had no self-worth. Towards the end of my drinking, I had a really hard time looking in the mirror. I was probably about 60 pounds heavier. So I weighed about probably 180. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating good. Like I was not well, like in any way whatsoever. And I found that like I would binge drink. And then when I would come out of that, I just did not want to be here anymore, like just feeling that just complete darkness. And I would be physically sick from binge drinking for a few days. And then it was like always like on that 3rd or 4th day when I started to feel better, I'm out the door again, and I'm doing the exact same thing over and over. And I couldn't break out of it, and then I started going to these meetings, and then I'm going to meetings, and then I'm going back out to try and do some controlled drinking. And that's my disease. Like the addict in me tells me, this time when you drink, it's going to be different. So you can go to the pub and just have 3 pints and stop. And that has never been my experience, like ever. But I believe these lies. Yeah, this time when I go, I haven't had a drink in a week. And this time when I go, it'll be different. And it never is. Like once I start, I cannot stop. Right. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
that was what happened to me too. I went in and out of detox like 8 different times.
Yeah.
every time I would come out of detox, I'd be like, I'm cured. Okay, I can go out and do the same thing over again. And then a week later, I'm having DTs. And I'm like, why am I having these withdrawal symptoms? I'm cured. I just went to detox. Like, it didn't click in my head that if you don't put in, you won't have withdrawals. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so finally, by the grace of God, I was able to be honest with myself. And it wasn't until the day I was able to surrender to the truth that I am an alcoholic. Um, Finally, that day, it was like, I mean, the best way to describe it was like this weight that had been crushing me my entire life had been lifted. And this connection that I had with God was so real and so strong. Like I don't think I couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks. I don't even know how to describe it. Like I had this like connection,
Like the spiritual awakening.
like huge, like because I didn't have to lie anymore. You know?
Yes.
Like that was huge for me, and like driven by fear my entire life, just driven by fear. And the fact that I don't have to live that way anymore, and what I've learned in recovery about my disease is just like it's just mind blowing. It's like I had no idea. I went into the rooms and like 12-step rooms thinking I have a drinking problem, right? And then I was soon to realize like I don't have a drinking problem. Drinking is the solution to this internal problem that I've had my entire life. And drinking is my way of coping. That was my coping mechanism. So now I'm like, oh, okay, so I have an internal problem. I've got a severe, and the best way for me to describe it is like, it feels like there's been this empty hole in my chest that is so incredibly dark and has always been there. And it was like when I surrendered to the truth, it was like that is filled with God's love now. And I recognize, and it's so crazy because like I remember the day that I surrendered and I said to myself, maybe, just maybe one day I'll be able to help someone that is suffering and dying like I am right now, And the fact that I now completely recognize what my purpose is on this earth, and that is to help women that are dying from this disease that I have. Like this is about saving lives here, and praying to God that some of these women can hear it, can wake
Yeah.
up to the fact, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. In recovery, like before I came into recovery, I was constantly like searching for my purpose. Like, what am I doing here on this earth? All I'm doing is the same thing. I'm waking up. I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to manipulate, who I'm going to cheat, who I'm going to lie to, who I'm going to steal from so that I can get what I need to get, and it was just such a purposeless life.
Yeah.
And I woke up every day pissed off that I woke up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then when I came into recovery, I all of a sudden found my purpose. And it was so amazing. Like I had a reason to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And finally, after a little while, I started waking up and I was happy.
Yep.
And it was so profound to me.
Amazing. It's so amazing. Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh. So spirituality for you is like a huge key in your recovery.
Oh, like huge. So like from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I have to really try to have that conscious contact with God all throughout my day. And
Mm-hmm.
recognizing for me, like what I've learned in recovery, what it is that blocks me from God is fear, resentment, selfishness, and dishonesty, right? And it's like when these crop up, I ask God to remove it right away. So I'm going to experience these things because I'm human. I'm going to experience these things throughout my entire lifetime till the day I die. It's not like, we recover and then I'm better. Okay, see you later. It's like, no, like this has like to be treated like on a daily basis. Like I have to continually make sure that I'm connecting with God throughout my day. And now the fact that I can recognize when anger crops up or something happens, or I'm doing something based on like driven, like fear driven, and it's like I have to stop. And like in active addiction, I'm out the door and I'm like trying to get, you know, everything and anything inside of my body so I can just black out, because I don't know how to cope and I don't know how to deal with anything really. So the fact in sobriety, I can now recognize, okay, I'm feeling a lot of anger today, or I'm feeling fear. Where is this coming from and why? And really like focusing on what's driving it. And usually it's because I'm trying to control a certain situation, or my expectations are too high. And what I need to constantly do is just surrender to God's will, right? And it's not my will, it's what God wants for me. And I have to continually trust in God, continually. And you know, that gets taken away from me really fast when I'm not doing recovery on a daily basis. Like if I'm not staying connected to this program and in active recovery, like I get really sick really fast. And I just wanted to share just kind of like what happened to me when COVID hit. You know, like I lost my job, my husband lost his job, and we're living in Toronto, in this super small condo, paying $3,500 a month, and just making ends meet, right? And we are like we're making ends meet. We're both working full time, but we both lost our jobs, so it's like we can't pay rent next month. What are we going to do? So we didn't, and then we had to move. But kind of like during that week where I'm completely stuck in fear, I'm stuck in self-pity, and I start to isolate. And that, for someone like me, like, you know, like an alcoholic, like I cannot afford to be sitting in fear or self-pity for a very long time, because I get to a really dark place really fast. And that within a week's span, I'm in bed and I'm not reaching out to anyone. I'm isolating and wondering why I don't want to be here anymore. Like that's where my mind goes now. It's not like, okay, I need to drink. Like I'm 6 years into this, and it's like, I know I can't drink anymore. Like drinking is no longer an option for me, right? So it's like my mind goes like, I can't cope. I don't want to be here. Like I just get to this dark place. And a girlfriend of mine in this 12-step program, she messages me and she's like, come to a Zoom meeting. And I'm like, what is a Zoom meeting? Like what, you know, I had no idea. Like, I think I heard of Zoom, and she's like, just come to the meeting. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not getting out of bed. And I'll lay in bed and I'll go on my phone and I'll come in. You know what I mean? I'm just like, so like resisting it. And I'm just like, I don't want to do it. And it's like, I'm sitting in my own crap. Like I'm just sitting in it. Right. And it's like, she's like, Michelle, how long are you going to sit in this for? You know, like wake up and get out of it and start helping women who are dying from this disease with your experience. And all I have to do is share my own experience and say, hey, this happened to me. And we can relate. You and I can relate on this level. It's like where I can sit down with you and say, I know exactly what you felt, and I know exactly where you're coming from. And I've been there. I've been to that extreme. I've been to hell and back. Like I've been there. And wow, to make it on the other side and to be able to share that with other women and be like, you know, I'm a firm believer that we recover in order to help others recover, period. It's not about me anymore, right? I'm a vessel. And it's like, you know, every morning I'm on my knees and I ask God to direct me, please, and show me who I can help today, you know. And I put this program like 100% first. I put recovery first. So it's like I have to fit my life into recovery. I cannot fit recovery into my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, first things first, yes, has to be your priority. Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like, and we do, I recovered through a 12-step program as well. And
Yep.
then I found like specific pathways, like service for me is a huge pathway. I'm a massage therapist and I do
Oh, fun.
recovery massage. So I created this protocol to like help people and like detox and with different mental health stuff and like just things that we go through when we come in early recovery, just like calming the whole mind, body, soul connection. So for me, like service is huge. And if I'm not out there helping people,
Right?
then I get back to that purposeless
Yeah,
place.
exactly. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I
So
started going to these Zoom meetings. Yeah, and then my girlfriend started up her own group on Facebook with the meetings, and I started to pray about it, and I just said, God, please direct me. I'm in a really dark place right now. Just show me where I can be of service. And so I thought I should start a women's meeting within her group, and so it was every Thursday night, and we started doing that, and it was great. But then it wasn't enough. So I ended up starting my own women in recovery group on Facebook. And I think we have about 1,700 women now with over 17 meetings a week. So it's all 12-step solution-based meetings for women.
where can people go to find this?
So if you go to Facebook, I'm wondering, I can pull it up right now if you just give me one sec. If
Yeah, so I can put it in there so that people can find it. I remember when I went to my first Zoom meeting during coronavirus, I cried because like I saw all my friends' faces and I hadn't seen them in so long.
Oh,
I was like,
amazing.
oh my goodness. Like it was just such a relief to see my friends.
Okay, so okay, I'm just gonna pull it up here. So if you are able to allow me to screen share, um, I will be able to screen share, host disabled. Okay, perfect. And we'll do this. And how do I don't know why, sorry. It's
Okay. I'm
share.
glad you're good on the technical stuff. I'm not.
So if you go, do you know where it says share screen on the bottom
Uh-huh.
tab? If you go to there's like a little thing on the right, like a little button you can click.
Uh-huh.
And, and if you click it, it'll say enable participants to screen share. Is that coming up?
It says multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Sure.
Advanced sharing options.
Try, I'm just wondering how I can, yeah, if you click that one there where it says multiple participants can share,
Yes.
and then I think I'll be able to just share my screen, and then I can show everyone what the Facebook Women in Recovery page looks like, because I know there's quite a few out there. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. We got it, dear. So this is it here.
Okay, great.
You see that?
Mhm.
So this is the photo, and then basically you can request just to be a member. It's a closed group, and we have, so yeah, it's 12-step solution-based online meetings for women in recovery. And like for me, I find like going into the Zoom meetings was very uncomfortable at first. And then the fact that we started creating all of these women's meetings, I just found it a lot more comfortable. I found that I could be a lot more vulnerable with just women. So it's like I'm only in women's meetings now. You know what I mean?
I can relate. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that's it there, guys. So if anyone's interested in joining, please do, because there's a ton of amazing solution-based 12-step meetings and support groups for women who are in recovery. So
Yes, thank you for sharing that with us. That's
yeah.
awesome. So now tell me a little bit about your music career, because I think it's so amazing that you have a music career like you went for. I'm assuming that this is like a major passion of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it since before recovery?
Yeah. So I've been like singing probably from the age of 16, performing live, and I started writing music when I was about 25. And then from there, I actually lived down in Nashville for a bit. So I was down there for a few months, living down there, just doing writing. But it was like always like the drinking got in the way. Like I wasn't able to in any way move forward, because I was completely paralyzed by fear and drinking. That was my solution. So I just messed up a lot of opportunities because of my addiction issues. First year of recovery, I wrote the song Drive, which alludes to my recovery. And it was just amazing the way God had kind of just opened doors for me. I wrote this song, and then ended up getting an investor. So we were able to go into the recording studio and, like record this beautiful,
Yes.
like full on, like, string section.
I watched it.
Oh, yeah,
I did. Yeah, it is beautiful. I was like, man, she's got an amazing voice.
My investor was able to give us some money to shoot this like gorgeous, beautiful video. Like it's just all these doors started opening, and I was just like, oh, God, like it was just unreal. Like how just God moves in my life, and I just really need to stay humble and recognize my purpose still, which is it was just to serve him, and really understand that, yeah, like you said, like just helping others and living a life of service that's it for me. Like I have such a passion for helping others. Like that's what drives me now. So yeah, but I'm still continually writing. I'm hoping to be releasing. I have a full-length album that I've recorded, but because of COVID, we were kind of holding back from releasing it. So I'm thinking like we were going to release it in the fall, but it's kind of hard because we can't have an event with more than 50 people right now.
Gotcha.
So I'm thinking probably maybe in the spring, we'll release the full-length album, and hopefully things will open up a bit more around then, and it'd be nice to come down to the States and play some shows.
Yes, if you ever come to Athens.
Yes, that would be so amazing. That would be amazing.
Yes.
So,
absolutely. So my last question for you is, what piece of advice would you give for women who maybe need a little bit of help with their faith in pursuing their dreams?
with their faith, I mean, I have to continually on a daily basis just put my trust and my faith in God. And when I don't do that, I really notice a huge difference in my life, because I'm trying to control, and I have to continually remember that God has me exactly where, like, I'm supposed to be exactly where I'm supposed to be right here, right now, in the present moment. And God is only in the present moment. So when my ego continually tells me like, you're supposed to be over there and you're not even there yet, like, why aren't you like this successful, like in all this like crazy chatter, and it's just my ego, it's ego based. And when I buy into that, I'm not in the present moment, right? Like I'm not here, I'm like over here, and I'm starting to get resentful and angry, and all of these things are just accumulating because of thoughts that are happening in my mind. And I have to really stop and recognize when those thoughts crop up, right? And just kind of put the brakes on and just be like, it's not from God. It's not, because God is right here and in the present moment. And I need to see that and recognize and surrender to that, and I'm in a really good place when I do, just accept where I am right now, and just try and live my entire day, like throughout the day, in complete gratitude, right? Where I wake up in the morning, and like you had said earlier, you know, I used to wake up so incredibly angry. Me too. Like I would wake up and just like, it's on me, the beast is on me, and I'm ready to just rip through people. Um, you know, that's still there. It's trying to come out, but like with my recovery and my faith in God and continually having that conscious contact with God, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes you know, that chatter's there just trying to get in. And it's like, you got to do this and you got to, you know, and it's trying to get in there as soon as I'm conscious in the morning. So what I've started doing, as soon as I wake up and as soon as I know that I'm awake, before any thought tries to get in there to try and, you know, make me full of fear or whatever those thoughts are, I just say, thank you, God. And I repeat it out loud. And I say, thank you, God, for my life. Thank you, God, for my life. And I'm usually lying down still because I've just woken up, and I literally just put my hands in the air and I say, thank you, God. And I put that energy out there and I put that gratitude out there. And then I get up and, you know, I grab a coffee and I'm on my knees in prayer and meditation, right? And for me, I need to really, it's self-discipline too, right? Like alcoholics are undisciplined. We just are. It's very hard to have structure, right?
Yeah.
So it can be really hard sometimes, but I just make myself do it, and I've got to go through with it. And the end result is like, you know, I get to act as a vessel, and I get to let God work through me. And what an amazing deal that is, man, to have that connection with God, where you know, I'm 6 years sober, clean and sober now, and I am 100% doing this like as hard as I can. And I've never felt peace and serenity as I do right here, right now in my life ever. And that is only because I'm putting recovery first, right? Like 100%. And it's all due to surrendering to God and to God's will. And then he will provide, and he always has provided. You know what I mean? So, yeah, keeping that faith and just trusting in God is huge, you know. And what was the second part of the question? Pursue dream, like just
Your dreams, yeah. Having
good.
the courage to pursue your dreams.
The courage, yeah. I mean, for me, like even just praying for that courage, I find like if I'm struggling with anything, I'm going to, like, even if I'm struggling with surrendering, I'm on my knees and I'm continually saying, God, please show me how to surrender. I'm having a really hard time surrendering right now, you know? And it's usually at that kind of like breaking point where I'm trying to control person, place, or thing in my life. And I need to just take a step back. And for me, like I have to get on my knees because I feel it really humbles us. And it puts us in a physical position of being like of surrendering, you know, like so on my knees, and sometimes my hands are up like this. And it's just asking God, you know, and believing. And there's the key though. It's believing that God will remove that defect. It's huge, huge. Um, you know, God removed the obsession to drink from me. And it's like God, it was only by the grace of God that I don't drink anymore. So that is a complete miracle, because I was so bound by addiction, you know. So if God can remove that from me, then God can remove, you know, whatever is blocking me from moving forward and just working towards whatever I'm working towards. Like, and honestly, believing in yourself and really watching. I find, because I do work with a lot of women, and we really have to watch our thoughts and what we say about ourselves. Huge. Especially if you're saying negative things about yourself out loud, that it needs to stop. Like when women say that, like, oh, I'm stupid. And I'm like, stop. Like, don't even say that out loud. Don't even think that, because it is not true in any way. Like, don't even say it, because we have to, like, you know, rewire your brain to think, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am worth it. Like, morning affirmations are really huge too, you know, to just really get, I mean, I struggled for years learning how to like myself. I hated myself to the core. I hated everything about myself, you know, and I'm just now, this year, I believe, just learning how to love who I am, right? And that is through, like, saying those affirmations every day and believing it and believing in yourself, you know, it's huge. So,
That's great. Thank you so
because,
much for saying that.
right? Yeah.
Yes, that is amazing. So, okay, where can we find you to hear your music? I know on YouTube. That's where I found you at, on YouTube. Where else?
Yeah, so I'm on Spotify and on iTunes. So we released the song Drive as a single last November. So there's 3 songs on the EP, and then the full-length album, I think, will be coming out in the spring. So I'll be sure to let you know about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, Michelle, Titian are so excited. Thank you for sharing your story with us and your hope. And make sure you guys subscribe to her YouTube channel. Make sure you guys check her out on Spotify and iTunes. And make sure, if you are a lady, go to the Women in Recovery Facebook page. And I will try to post a link for that and for her YouTube page as well. And we will see you guys next time on Recovery Inspired Hope.